We have got our opponent for the first round, well, Michigan State's first round, I should say, of the Big Ten tournament. Yes, it's going to be the Buckeyes again. And then, well, what does the rest of the Big Ten tournament hold for us? And, well, it's not just the basketball Big Ten tournament we have to talk about. We talk hockey with Jeremy Dewar at the end of the show as well. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week here in the Locked On Podcast Network. Or, hey, really, we're going to be doing this too, over the weekend. If Michigan State wins their first round game, okay, we'll have a nice little episode for you. If they win on Saturday, nice little episode for you. And then all the way up to Selection Sunday, you can find all sorts of Michigan State content here, just like you will on today's show. But before going any further, hey, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Gang, okay, just like we did last weekend, we're going to be facing Ohio State on Friday because those squirrely Buckeyes, 73-69 against Iowa. Michigan State will not be able to extract revenge out of those Hawkeyes for what happened that fateful afternoon because, well, we got full Fran already just melting down in March. But, hey, we're not here to talk about the Hawkeyes. We're here to talk about the Buckeyes and what this has to do with Friday's opener for our Spartans, about 2:30-ish. And you know what? During the game, which was a great game, actually, in the second half, really back and forth, really good track meet, our listener reached out and said, hey, do we want to face this white-hot Ohio State team, or would we rather face this seemingly mediocre Iowa team that will just lost as 11.5-point favorites on their senior night? And my answer was Iowa for two reasons. One was the rational reason, the basketball reason, and the other one was just for the irrational fan reason. But if it was Iowa, that would have been a surefire quad one game for Michigan State. On a neutral court, anyone that's ranked between 1 and 50 in the net rankings is a quad one win. Right now, Michigan State has 6 of those already on the season. They also have 6 quad 2 wins. That's pretty good nationally. That stacks up. It's not like the best, but it's in the top 25-ish amongst the country. So Ohio State, though, could they actually be a quad one win? Now, how is that possible? A team that was so bad this season that they started their Big Ten tournament on Wednesday. How is that possible that they could be a quad one win? Despite their bad record on paper, the metrics love them. The net rankings love the Ohio State Buckeyes. They went into this game against Iowa as the number 57th rated team in the net. After this win against Iowa, they will be right on the cusp of that top 50 cutoff to be a quad one win. Now let's say Michigan State beats them. Does that slide them outside the top 50? Are we just playing a whole game of ping pong back and forth from that quad 1 to quad 2 line with the Ohio State Buckeyes? We might be, but there is a chance this game is a quad 1 win chance for Michigan State. I'm not chalking this up as a victory. And, you could probably tell that right now with how hot Ohio State's playing, but we'll get to that more in a little bit. The second reason that, hey, I wanted to face Iowa is, of course, to exorcise the demons from what happened in Iowa City 2 Saturdays ago, or it was Saturday. But hey, regardless, not important anymore. The boys have looked good since. Iowa can't necessarily say the same, but hey, that's the 2 reasons I wanted to face Iowa. But just like we talked about, it looks like that Ohio State might actually be a good opportunity to start building on MSU's seed line. Because there's 2 missions that you have this weekend. It's one, to win the Big Ten tournament. Okay, that goes without saying. And then number 2, also keep climbing up that ladder for the seed line, because right now, Michigan State per bracket matrix, which compiles 92 different bracketologies on the internet, the average seed for Michigan State right now is a 7 seed. And according to all these bracketologists, Michigan State is the second best 7 seed. The only one better than them is Duke. Duke, of course, took care of business against Pitt earlier on Thursday as well, so they might be climbing a little higher and higher. Also above them on the 6th line is Creighton. Okay, Texas A&M, who's looking good, Kentucky looking good, and TCU, who's also looking good. So will a win over Ohio State automatically propel MSU to the 6th line? Probably not, with a lot of help. But if you win that game, well, then you have a really good chance for you on Saturday as well. So if you can get the 6th line, God, that just looks so much better than a 7. Because, of course, in the 7 line, you get the number 2 seed, whereas if you're the 6, you win your first round game, you most likely get the 3 seed. And I think that between the 2 seeds this year and the 3 seeds this year, I think there's a world of difference. I think throughout the season, the 1s and the 2s are pretty closely bunched together. And then there's the wide gap between, well, the 2 and the 3 seeds. So that's just, me spitballing right there. Let's get to what this Ohio State Buckeye team is all about. And they are about just define their record on Ken Pom, on Bart Torvik, on the net ranking. They were ranked really high despite not even being 500. And these last 2 days, actually, the last 2 weeks are really why, perhaps, because they did look really good in their 2 games ahead of Michigan State's senior day game. Okay, they popped Illinois by double digits. They popped Maryland by double digits. And now, well, okay, they looked really good against Wisconsin. Okay, they dominated them for about 35-ish minutes of the game. The final score was not indicative of what happened in that game. They were up 20-25. Wisconsin went on this great run. That still wasn't good enough. And then what we just saw today on Thursday is that they were able to keep up in a track meet with Iowa. And they, looked like a legitimate team. So what has happened to Ohio State? I think first and foremost, it's Bruce Thornton. Okay, their freshman guard, who actually had a really nice game against Michigan State. He put up 20 points against Michigan State. And in Bruce Thornton's last 5 games, he has put up double-digit points in those 5 games, 2 of those being 20-point performances, like I said, against Michigan State. However, now we're going to start talking about why Michigan State might be a little happy to see Ohio State is it's hard to win 3 games in a row in 3 days, namely because of the wear and tear you put on the legs. Right now, Ohio State has 6 players that have played more than 50 combined minutes over Wednesday and Thursday night, and 2 of those players actually have gone above 60 combined minutes. Okay, that's Justice Suing, and that's also Bruce Thornton, the freshman guard we just talked about. So, if I'm Michigan State, I just see this young kid, Bruce Thornton, log more than 60 minutes on his legs. Okay, might be a little tired, a little fatigued going into the 3rd day of a college tournament. You're also going up against an incredibly tough backcourt defensively in AJ Hoggard, Tyson Walker, Jaden Akins, whoever they want to throw on him. That might make for a tough day for Bruce Thornton. So the fact that, okay, well, the point guard that's kind of been turning the gears here for Ohio State, all right, maybe this is going to be a good matchup. And really, this is nothing new that we haven't talked about before an Ohio State matchup the other 2 times this season, that Ohio State, on paper, they match up pretty well for you, right? And I don't think that's jinxing things. I think there's proof in that pudding here the last 2 games when they beat Ohio State by about 20 at their place and then just beat them on senior day. But Ohio State is pretty guard predicated, and Michigan State's strength is guard play, both offensively and defensively. You don't want to see, as a Michigan State fan, a team with a good center, and their center position is manageable. Okay, Felix Okpara, freshman, okay, big body kid. He might go on to have a pretty good career at Ohio State, but Michigan State's been able to keep him at bay the last 2 matchups, and also the last 2 games for Okpara, 9 rebounds total and 5 points total as well. So really similar stats in what we've seen Madi put up over 2 game stretches this year. Like decent rebounder, not really a scoring threat. So anytime you could face that, okay, us State fans are going to be really thrilled because as we get into March Madness, as we get closer to Selection Sunday, we will be praying to whatever God that that anyone believes in, that we don't get matched up against a team with good center play. And luckily, okay, we don't have to face Rebrasha of Iowa, a guy that has had pretty solid games against Michigan State this year. We get to face a manageable front court. So there we go. That's a little preview. It's a lot of what we already talked about the other 2 times against Ohio State. But, hey, it could be a quad 1 win. Who is to say? We're going to be talking more about the future for the Big Ten tournament, who Michigan State's potential next matchup could be should they beat Ohio State. Again, it's going to be a tough matchup. They are 3.5-point favorites per FanDuel. That's right. We're here to talk about FanDuel now, America's #1 sportsbook. And you know already that it is the greatest time of the year to get in on the gambling action. So do so at FanDuel. And best of all, hey, if you are a new customer of FanDuel, you get that no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's right. That is back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So if you're feeling spicy about Michigan State -3.5 against those Buckeyes, well, if it's your first bet, hey, go big on it if you want to. You're going to get it back in bonus bets even if it loses. So don't miss the chance to get in on your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more about the trends and actions going on this whole March Madness season. That's right, gang. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Go check it out. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now, as we go beyond this Big Ten tournament, because look, it's the last-ish episode of the weekend. I mean, we'll have smaller ones throughout the weekend, no matter what happens. If Michigan State loses immediately, keeps on winning. But this is like the last longer episode, so we'll just talk future of the Big Ten tournament. And so if Michigan State is to beat Ohio State, they will be taking on a really good opportunity to get a good win against Purdue. Now, this is something that we talked about with Joe Cook-Sugart of 131sports.com, okay, one of the best bracketologists out there, is that it might take the first game against Ohio State and then another win against Purdue, and then that could have Michigan State on the 6th line. So, yes, as we talk about building up the seed, that's going to be Michigan State's best shot right there. Also, maybe Purdue loses, and I will have to apologize here. I was pretty busy today, so I didn't get to watch the early game, but I can presume Michigan won that game against Rutgers. So having that third matchup against Michigan could be also pretty big as well. Again, I didn't get to watch. I wasn't able to break that down, so I don't know what's different with Michigan now, but I think it goes without saying that they probably won that game. Again, they have 2 first-round draft picks. They brought back the ski mask merchant, who was a first-team All-Big Ten player. So anytime you have NBA talent like that and a big man that, you know, has certainly developed greatly through his career at Michigan under such a great coach, you can assume that they're going to win their first-round Big Ten tournament game, especially if it's in like an 8-versus-9 game, and especially if it's against a team like Rutgers that has lost 6 of their last 8. I mean, Rutgers has looked terrible in the last few weeks. They have gone from the 6th seed to almost falling out of the tournament, and since, well, Michigan most likely beat them, they're probably out of the tournament right now. And also Michigan, too, is in a similar situation, okay, as Rutgers. They had to win their game absolutely, positively to save face on anything this season, especially after entering as a top 20 team in the country. And that's after all the talent I just named off there, too. And that's not to factor in all the great work that they've done in the transfer portal as well. You know, keeping guys like Frankie Collins, keeping guys like Colin Castleton, keeping guys like Brandon Johns, keeping guys like David DeJulius. I mean, what Juwan Howard has brought in here, and a lot of the fans were clamoring that he knows how to build a roster. He knows how to recruit. And I don't even want to start thinking about next year's recruiting class for them. I'm sure it's loaded with kids in the top 75, if not the top 50. But anyway, let's focus on the now. All 4 of those kids I just named that are still certainly on the team, because they have, like if they weren't on the team, they wouldn't be like averaging double digits on their new team anywhere. And they definitely can't use, 2 competent point guards and Frankie Collins and David DeJulius, or, another strong 4-man and Brandon Johns, who, God, imagine if he left somewhere and started making hay, scoring in double figures. But again, that's all just not happening because they're doing great work at Michigan. And with this win, too, it's just another notch in the belt for Juwan Howard, another great Big Ten tournament postseason win. And I got to admit, like when all the Michigan fans started talking about, hey, Juwan Howard's better than Izzo already, even though he's been here for 5 minutes, like, oh, watch, that's right, Sparty, watch out. Here comes old Juwan. He's going to be thrashing through the Big Ten for years to come. I mean, well, yeah, sure. I know the season didn't go according to plan. They didn't get this big seed. They're not going to be a top 4 seed in March, but at least with, again, NBA talent and another first-team All-Big Ten player, at least they got to the tournament. that was probably cemented with their win over Rutgers, because also, like, if you look across the street, if you look at Michigan State, I mean, Tom Izzo was able to get his team in 2021 across the finish line to the postseason with not really any NBA players, without any first-team All-Big Ten players. So, yeah, I mean, if Juwan Howard is better than Tom Izzo, and Tom Izzo still able to get to the tournament even without top-flight talent, it probably goes without saying that things are going pretty okay in Michigan. Again, I didn't get to watch the game. Really made me sick. I did bet on Michigan on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And I'm going to check my account after this to see how much money I actually won there, because, again, it was a mortal lock. And I was told personally by the Free Press that, hey, even though they lost these one-possession games, even though they've lost these overtime games against Illinois, Indiana, that things are getting better, actually. And the only thing that matters is that they have improved off their quad 4 loss against a 10-21 Central Michigan team. So as long as they've kept improving after that self-inflicted adversity that was brought upon themselves, well, how can you not improve enough to beat a Rutgers team that was 6-8? So anyway, this is a long way of saying that no matter who Michigan State faces, if it's Purdue on Saturday, if they beat Ohio State, that'll be a good opportunity. If it is going to be Michigan, the big bad trio of Jet Howard, Kobe Buffkin, Hunter Dickinson, and then their already Hall of Fame enshrined head coach over in Ann Arbor, that could be a really good game too. It's going to be a lot of emotion. Okay. Season series is split right now, but that will be another good momentum shifter into the rest of March Madness. So, if I was incorrect about anything, just let me know, I guess. LockdownSpartans@gmail.com. I don't presume I am, because, God, Rutgers could barely score above 50 lately. And imagine not being able to score above 50 points in March, especially in a must-win game. I can only assume Rutgers didn't do that. All right, we're going to be getting to Jeremy Dewar to talk some hockey here in a hot second, but first need to talk your ear off about Built Bar. That's right, gang. We got Built Bar in the mix here. It's the world's best protein bar, and it says right here in front of me, hey, say it tastes better, or say it tastes as good as a candy bar. I already spoiled it. You know what I'm going to say next. It tastes even better than a candy bar. I will shoot you straight because I care about you. They are great on the taste buds. They are great on the body. Most of these Built Bars, we're just talking 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, but a whopping 17 grams of protein. You're not going to feel weighed down like you do with your old protein bar you're already eating. You're going to feel light, but you're going to feel the power that is punched with the 17 grams of protein. And Built Bar also takes care of you with their convenience. That's right. We're talking Built.com. How does it get any easier than the internet? Well, what if you're at Sam's Club? What if you're at Walmart? Just mosey on over to the pharmacy section and get a 4-bar box of Built Bars. Any way you slice it, guys, you're going to find a flavor you love at Built.com, Sam's Club, or Walmart. So what are you waiting for? Stock up on your Built Bar.